What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Real Estate Served on the Rocks. My name is Charles Sardelli, and I'm here with
Jameson Amaros,
Oscar Ibarra.
And today we've got a episode straight from the audience.
We do, yeah. It is. We're involving you guys.
Yes.
Is this straight from the audience or straight from the comments that made us, cry?
Those are our audience.
They hurt our feelings.
Yeah, it's our
as real
audience.
estate agents, that's our audience, right?
Yeah.
We are going to do more of a mean tweets kind of feel.
It's gonna be more
in a
relaxed.
bit.
A lot more whiskey.
Yeah, because we're going to need it. We're going to need it to deal with that. But
I don't do well with mean tweets.
Yeah.
I'm a sensitive human being.
That's why I was so scared to let myself get on the internet.
I know, right?
It's just because what are they going to say?
After the 19th just hate comment I got, especially on my TikTok channel, because TikTok is brutal. I love it, but it is toxic AF. And
gotta love anonymity.
Yeah, a couple of those, and then you go and you click on the profile, and it's no picture, no videos.
Yeah.
Okay, you're just scrolling
Literally
in your
just
mom's basement,
it's
saying
just a troll.
mean things. Cool, that's great.
Yeah, and then you click on the picture and it's Dahmer, and you're like, ooh, no.
Yeah, I feel
off,
like there should
off.
be. I had this conversation with somebody. I feel like somebody, instead of banning TikTok, we should just make it to where if you're going to comment on somebody's video, the algorithm should know if you yourself have posted anything.
Yes.
And if you haven't, too bad.
Well, I think
you can either like or dislike. That's it.
I think those are the bot accounts that Mr. Musk is having so many problems
Man.
with now.
And the thing is, the way I see it, if it's a nasty comment, you don't have to watch my stuff. It's my opinions, and I try to keep them as knowledgeable as possible. You pull more stats, but I've said in the past, I don't check stats. I make them. No,
Right?
no, but my biggest, I'm the.
I am.
If I'm being a statistic's not good. What, Brown and Young and my biggest concern when we first started was my peers, right? I was very nervous what my peers were going to say or do about what I was doing or saying, because I want to say hundreds of friends that are real estate agents, and they will check me quick. They know where I live. So the general public, I hope that we're giving out good knowledge, and please understand that we're here to help, not to make ourselves low. We're knowledgeable. We're trying to screw you over. No, that's not our MO.
Yep.
It's give you the tools, give you the questions, and arm you the best way possible for those agents that are what you're thinking we are.
Yeah, and I think this episode will be a phenomenal proof of just that. And again, guys, yes, we're real estate agents. Yes, we'd love for you to use us in your transactions, but at the end of the day, we recognize that there's a gap. Real estate agents talk to real estate agents. Consumers talk to consumers.
Trolls talk to people on TikTok.
Yeah, trolls on TikTok.
Well, not only that, but understand that there is a lot of real estate agents out there. It's not very hard to get your license.
Yeah.
And then one of the financial guys that you were showing me said that he wouldn't talk to an agent to know the market because most agents don't know what they're doing. Yes, there's half true to that.
Absolutely.
But agents that are 100% in it, this is what they do, this is what we do every day, they're the ones you want to talk to.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's hard to find because everybody could get on social media, and that's a huge platform. All of a sudden, people that don't know what the hell they're doing, they're the shiny thing that the consumer likes.
Well, and that's the thing.
And I hate to do this, and I know I beat this freaking horse down every time. Pretty, or funny, or whatever the case may be, they capture that, right? They capture the attention of the general public, and they regurgitate crap.
Yeah.
Anybody could regurgitate anything.
Analytical thinking skills.
You need someone that's
in high demand.
Been in the trenches. Those are the people you want to talk to. So anyway, that's it might get ugly if I start drinking. So I haven't even started. So we'll see what's going to happen.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I just one real quick, and this is why I appreciate something like this podcast. And you talked about it, saying you were nervous about your peers, right? Because a ton of real estate agents. We all talk to each other. It's like an iron sharpens iron thing. And, it gives us a unique opportunity. Every time we do these episodes, we go in and we do hours of research and we bounce ideas off of each other. And we have an entire pre-show conversation on what we're going to talk about. And hopefully that shows up to you guys as you're saying, okay, maybe these guys know what they're talking about. Maybe they don't. If you guys don't know and you want to check it out, the Mile High Perspective on YouTube, that's where you guys can find us. We're through this will be episode 19.
19 episodes.
We've got, real estate defined clips for some hot topics. We've got some funny YouTube shorts. Community spotlights are coming.
Glad you reminded me. I've been saying everything's Oscar the Realtor across the board. TikTok's not. Someone took Oscar the Realtor, so I made it OscarTheRealtor.com.
Boom.
It's literally OscarTheRealtor.com. That's who I'm on TikTok.
Love it.
Better branding. I like it.
And I'm getting there, guys. I got Linktree. Thanks, Jameson.
Doing it up. I like it.
I'm getting there, guys.
He even did another live before.
I know.
I did another live.
But on today's episode, like we were saying earlier, you know, we're here to help you. We're here to give you guys information that you really are looking for. So what we wanted to do with this episode is we pulled about 4 questions from our multiple social medias that have come straight from our audience. So thank you guys so much for engaging and talking to us, reaching out. Again, would love for you to reach out on the comment section, but more than happy to reach out to us individually on our social media, right? So what we're going to do is go over 4 questions that cover a good multitude of things. So we'll try and keep it within the hour, but you guys know how good we are about doing that.
Awful.
We ramble.
Especially with some of the topics that we have. But
We're passionate, all right? We can't help it.
yes. Well, like
Passion. I'm downright angry sometimes.
It's a fine line, my friend.
Yes.
It's a fine line.
Right? Well, as always, we have a wonderful bourbon with us for this episode. And number one, I like the bottle. I've never seen this one before. Oscar, I believe you're the one that chose this one. So you want to go in on it?
I didn't know what I was going to get. You know, we've been
Well, Oscar does this. Hold on. I want to try something.
a little bit all over the place. And I was talking to one of the guys there here at Bubbles, and I said, I want something different. What are you trying to do? You're gonna break your fingers. What's going to happen?
He's trying to be sick.
And so he pointed me towards this bottle, and it's from Willet, and I am not a fan of Willet. I'm not a fan of the Genie bottle here. It's earthy, it's grassy, it tastes like lawn clippings. I've never had anything good to say. The bottle's awesome. But this is from Willet. It's Johnny Drum, private stock. The Willet family is they go way back.
They're old.
They're old school. Not so much bourbon old school, but they started in early. It goes back to 1674. Thomas Willett, 1936 is when Thomas Willett founded the Willett Distillery. But in 1964, Edward Willett went to London to learn how to pewter.
Yep.
Is that the thing?
Because I think that's what they do with Scotch,
Right.
I believe.
So he learned that, and then he was allowed into the pewterers
It's on the other side.
London Hall of Fame or something like that.
Yep.
Anyway, it was a lot of history. I didn't want to write it all because it literally started from back then, and then bring it up. They even in the early 1700s, they were part of distilleries and then business and bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward 1936, that's when the Willett Distillery came on board
In Bardstown, right?
Yeah,
Bardstown,
Kentucky, and the famous Genie bottle that ruined everything for us. Well, for me, it's up there somewhere. It was in 2008. It wasn't even a long time ago.
Yeah.
So they kind of screwed the pooch in 2008 for me, at least. I'm excited to taste this one. It's supposed to be really good. It's supposed to be very different. See if you can find the bottle. It's an iconic bottle.
I think it's in the bottom right over there.
It has a very big base, and it looks like a Genie bottle.
And when I disclaimer, I moved to Colorado for a couple of reasons. But when I was in college, one of my side businesses was making liquor bottles into smokable apparatuses.
Colorado, you could say bongs.
And
whoa, that's the big one too. Look at that thing.
That is the bottle of Willet right there. So based on what I just said, how do you guys think this would work, huh? Because I did about 2 or 3 of these bottles in college.
I mean, it looks cool. When I
one
first
of the
bought it, I
questions
was like,
I didn't get was, does size matter?
oh,
Right? No.
get that thing away from me. Anyway, that bottle, I had the juice inside. You're either gonna love or hate it. I personally, it's not my favorite. So when I picked this one, Darren, I think his name was, he said it's from Willet, and I was like, pump the brakes. I'm not a fan of Willet. He goes, no, try it. It's supposed to be good. So I'm excited. It's 101 proof.
What was the price on it?
The price was $56. You can find it between $40 to $60. The nose is going to be sour apple, vanilla, and oak. The palate, and I think this guy was the same one that did the creamy mouthfeel, because the palate is a snowball rolling over fruits, vanilla, and spices, mixing all together into a well-balanced and complex whiskey.
It sounds like
snowball.
It sounds like
who the hell rolls snowballs on all kinds of shit and tries to eat it or drink it?
I'll say it sounds like the drunk version of Frosty the Snowman.
I'm just saying.
Like, it sounds like a
Frosty
Coloradan
was,
after a night
Frosty
out
was
drinking.
walking out of a bar at 2 a.m. and just started rolling down the hill over a bunch
This might taste like Christmas spirit.
All right, let's go for it.
I'm
So-
excited because Willet's one of those whiskey or bourbons that it seems you either love it or you hate it.
Yes.
Like there's
Right.
no in between.
That bottle.
You know what I mean?
That bottle, it's very much that.
But I think it's perfect for us.
Yes.
Because people either love us
or hate us.
or they hate us.
The second you get that realtor tag behind
I
your
hope-
name.
my gosh,
I
yeah.
love everyone, so if you love me, that'd be great.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
And
hate
if you
me,
don't, you know what?
Keep hating.
Right.
Bring it on.
What was
I'd rather
what
be
was-
feared than loved.
What was
No?
Cat Williams, right? Cat Williams is a famous. He goes, "Hey, if you have too many haters given to me, I'll take them.
Yep.
You need
That
haters.
means you're doing something right."
Or who is it?
Just don't be mean. I like haters.
Michael Scott. It's like, I want people to be scared of how much they love me. I want them to fear how much they love me.
Yes.
Right?
I want you to be very uncomfortable with how much you love me.
But now that we've had this sitting open for a little bit, I'm gonna go ahead and switch it around. I will say I caught a little bit of the smell as I was pouring it, and I can definitely see the apple what you're talking about just from the
Sour
smell.
apple.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot of sour apple.
Mhm.
It's like a Jolly Rancher.
Almost. Absolutely. Yeah, that's almost all you get.
Yeah.
Be interested to see if it opens up more.
And it's not
throughout.
burning the nostrils, even though it's a 100 proof. So it's a little bit.
Yep.
101.
All right.
So I would, yeah.
No, we didn't cheers, man.
Oh,
we're
geez.
screwing
Way to
up.
go.
Come
Yeah.
on, man. You're messing up.
You're right.
Episode
Cheers.
19 and we're already messing it up.
You know why, right?
We're getting comfy.
We didn't do any pre-gaming.
Right. Well, okay.
We're-
We're getting comfy over here.
Yeah, this is
All
true.
right.
Working.
Okay.
I'm trying not to compare it to the original Willet. It's not. It's really
No,
not.
it's
But
not.
it
No.
wants to go there ish. For me, I
don't taste any of that grassy.
I don't.
No.
But I do taste a floral.
Yes.
Not
Well, what's
earthy, but
wild-
floral.
What's really
Herbaceous?
cool about this? Ooh, herbaceous.
I would more like a what do you call a florist? You know, something floral potpourri.
Potpourri-ish?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, but not too like it's
Like
in
a-
your face.
Yeah.
It's,
Lavender.
Well,
yeah.
what's
yeah.
really interesting is that I kind of see what they were doing with the notes. It's
Yeah.
almost like as you're taking the sip, you get the sweet notes of the sour apple,
Mhm.
but then once you take the sip, it kind of goes away and gives way
The
to
vanilla.
that more floral note.
Mhm.
And compared to last week's, there's none of that heavy syrup taste.
Oh no.
You do have that
No,
sweetness.
it's not dry, but it's clean.
You get the sweetness
You know what
from
I
the
mean?
scent,
Yes.
not from the
Yeah.
taste. That's
take
what I'm saying.
take a bigger.
And it does
Twig?
you
Yeah.
do get the
tastes
burn.
different.
You do get the burn. Like I
Mhm.
normally, and this is why I like bourbon too, because it's a different experience for everybody, right?
Yeah.
For me, on a higher proof bourbon, I will smell it and I'll get the burn in the nostrils. Like
Mhm.
it'll hit. This one I don't get it, but you do get a little bit of the initial once you take that sip.
Yeah.
But it mellows out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's I
To
agree.
a
like
very
there's
light burn at the end.
Yeah, but
Very
I like the dichotomy between that floral lavender, like I don't know what it is. It's like fresh cut flowers is the only way I can
Mhm.
describe it. And then it melts into a little bit more of a vanilla and a sour apple.
And-
It's- yeah.
And when I said floral, I'm glad you said it. It was fresh cut flowers. It's not just the bouquet
Yeah, it's not
smell.
like
it's like the
sweet-
stem, the
Yes.
everything,
Yeah.
the
Yes.
fresh
Mhm.
cut flowers.
Yes.
You nailed
Yeah.
it.
I think
Yeah.
that's what it is.
I think that's
Absolutely.
the other one is fresh cut mow clipping.
Mowed grass.
Yeah,
Which
your lawn
smells
mowing
great.
clippings.
Yeah.
It's not a bad one, like I said, but it's earthy, and that's kind of what it tastes like. I
Yes.
don't really want to taste that.
Right.
This one is fresh cut flowers.
That's
which
why that's the whole reason why I don't love. I'm not a Scotch person.
the
That
peat and all
earthy
that
peat taste.
mossy.
I just don't like. I don't
Yeah,
know.
this is interesting,
There's
and
even
it
the
tastes a
breathe
little
through
different as it goes.
And like, you know, how when you do a cycle breath and you pull it through your nose over your tongue, the burn dissipates so fast and
Yep.
then it leaves way for that sweetness.
Mhm.
100%. And
Man, these guys we really did in pregame because they're using like complex words and Deuteronomy or what did you say
Deuteronomy.
earlier?
Dichotomy.
Deuteronomy.
Cycle breathing and jeez.
Oh, I like it.
What are
I'm
you guys,
sorry.
a goddamn walking thesaurus?
Oh man, hey,
I
yes.
was reading. There's a book over there. I don't know if you saw it. The ugly English words or whatever.
The problem is I've been reading so much on Google algorithms that
Yes.
like it's just being ingrained of these weird vocabulary words.
Right.
Words.
Words.
Now he's
are
making
being
shit up.
used. Yeah.
No, he's
Right?
making words up.
Yeah.
Well, I
Anyway.
mean, I'm glad it started out lighthearted.
Listen,
Thank you
we're
for the
trying
laugh,
to be as
boys.
verbose as possible.
Yeah.
Okay?
we might make up some words, but we like to have fun.
Yeah.
As much as this is a very serious We really want to get some good information out. We wanted to make him fun too.
Yeah.
You don't
Bro,
want to sit there and listen to a TED
I
talk.
am
every
pleasantly
time.
surprised with this.
Me too. I was gonna say it's like
Okay,
it's like
it's a consensus thing.
Okay.
it's sweet,
like,
right?
Pleasantly surprised. I had very low expectations. I'm not gonna lie.
Me too. I was like,
Yeah.
will it?
Hey,
Well-
Johnny Drum.
And I don't know about
One
you guys,
weird
but
name. Two, I was like,
well, not only that, but it just goes to show how much how important marketing is. Because when I saw
Look
the
at that
bottle,
label. It looks like shit.
Well, yeah, it looks very basic,
Yes.
but I like it because it's like, oh yeah, welcome in. This is very basic.
Yeah.
And then you take a sip of it.
You know what it's like? It's like a speakeasy.
Yeah,
Ooh.
absolutely.
It's like this weird door, and you're like, why am I walking this
Yeah.
door? And then you walk in, you're like, oh wow, this place is actually pretty
Yeah,
cool.
it's like
Yep.
this place. Kind
Yep.
of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
I like
And the label's like
it's very murdery at the beginning, and then you walk in, and you
yeah.
go,
All the
"This is
guests
actually
that
super nice."
come over, they're
Lauren, that one was for you.
Yeah, Lauren shows up. Is like, I was like, you're not getting murdered here. I promise. It's okay. You'll be
But yeah,
fine.
I am pleasantly
But-
surprised.
The label's like old granddad. You know,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That's
That's what I
it.
mean.
It's just slap it
Yeah,
on
except
there.
old granddad was actually shitty from start to
Yeah,
finish.
it's like a dive bar. You know
Yeah.
what you're gonna get, but
Yes.
it's gonna
Yep.
be fun at the end of the
It's
night.
like
But
I'm gonna
hey,
be drinking natty lights, but you know what? I chose this life, so it is
Apparently,
you know,
what it is.
Apparently
I
our
earned this blue
descriptions
ribbon that I've been
are
drinking.
on point. Because remember, Colin said he was like, I was so excited to drink Old Granddad after you guys talked about it until you got to the review.
Yep.
So maybe we're just real good at building stuff up.
You're welcome.
Listen,
old
I'm
granddad.
still bringing the old granddad bonded because I
Yep.
do want you guys to try it. Very similar profile to this actually, and it's so night and day, it, like blows my mind.
Okay.
You know, before we get,
I digress.
Before we move forward, it's very. I want to say it has a profile of like some sweet like a candy.
Yeah.
But without the sweet.
Like
if that
Andy
makes any
Moore,
sense.
like sweet like candy.
That syrup isn't there. Exactly.
Yeah,
That's what
it's
I
not
mean.
the syrupy, sugary.
No,
it's just
it's a
the
clean-
profile of a
yes.
clean.
dry. It's like a dried sweetness.
It's a weird,
But that,
sweet
no, that's
profile.
what I meant
Yeah.
earlier by they use the scent
Yes.
to establish the sweetness. It's not a flavoring. It's a scent that
Right.
then your brain goes,
It's
oh,
super
sweet.
cool, actually.
Yeah.
Take another sip while you're thinking that. It's
Yeah.
super cool.
That's
It's super,
awesome.
Anyway,
Well, what we're going to try and do today, guys, is we got, like I said, 4 questions that we're going to go through. Again, we're going to try and keep it concise, but these topics do expand pretty large. All right. So first question that I'm going to pose is wholesaling real estate legal, and what is wholesaling?
And the reason this question got brought up, and I think, is because there's this whole, and I'm going to let Oscar answer the question, but I want to give you guys a premise. There's an entire, since COVID, they call it the side hustler, side gig economy, right? And there's a lot of people that want to look for like the get rich quick
Yes.
schemes.
and that's been in general real estate.
Yes, but in wholesaling specifically, with the onset of TikTok,
Yep.
you can go on wholesaling and there is these gurus that say, hey, pay for this class and do this and blah, blah, blah. And they'll say, you know, within 6 months, if you do A, B, and C, you're going to make $50,000. So it was a question that I got asked. And I want Oscar, because he's got some experience as far as dealing with wholesalers and whatnot, as I do from an offer standpoint, to go through it. But it's something that people think, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get rich quick. And I mean, it's a gray area.
A lot that goes into it. And I believe that this right here, the wholesaling, especially what you see on TikTok
Yes.
and social media, is what leads people to be like, real estate agents are shit.
Which I
100%.
Well, yeah,
million
because
percent agree.
I saw a video of a kid on there, and he was like, oh, I got this house for $8,000, and he called the guy, and he was like, you know, dressed in a suit or whatever. He's like, hey man, what if I told you I got a deal for you? And I know you're not going to sell this house for this amount. So what if I tell you I can do it for this? And I was just watching this like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like you're ruining it. You're like, you're tainting it. So Oscar, can you kind of shed a little light on the wholesale business?
So from my end, what I understand and how I've seen wholesale done, right? You have a distressed property, usually what they look for, or a property that's been undervalued, either general public or MLS. You could scour them, you can find them on it, more so before than now. So you would go in and find a property that an investor may or may not want, right? $200,000 property. We'll use round numbers just to be to make it easy. You find a $200,000 property, then you'd go ARV, right? After remodel value. So say that you throw in 50 grand, you know, you're going to have your numbers there. You're going to make a sweet $100,000 profit. So there's agents that go on, look for those, they put them on a contract, and then they assign the contract over. So they say Jameson has this house, he wants to get rid of it, $200K. Charlie comes around, sees that value, then he starts marketing that property as his. So he puts it on a contract saying we'll close in 15, 20 days. And then when he finds another buyer that says, look, I got a sweet wholesale deal, I have it landed, pay me $210,000 for it. I'll assign the contract over to you. I found it. They call it a finder's fee. Is that legal? There's nothing that says you can't do that.
Technically, yes.
But is it ethical? No. Now, if Jameson is an investor, all day.
Sure.
The commission doesn't look at investors or anybody in the industry as someone they protect. They protect
just a
the
transaction
general.
at that
Yes, they protect the general public.
Yeah.
So if Jameson is some 85-year-old man that doesn't know what's going on, you technically are taking advantage of him.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Well, and that's what I
equity
was gonna say.
scheming and stuff like that all stems from this, right?
Yeah.
So then I come over and I see the value. Hey, I'll pay you your $10,000 finder's fee.
Mm-hmm.
Here you go, $210, and now your contract's assigned to me.
Yep.
And then there's a separate agreement that I'm going to pay you these $10,000, or I write the offer, you double close, and that's a whole different area that it's not legal.
Mm-hmm.
Double closings are definitely not legal. I was a stone throw away from a racket here in town.
Wow.
That's what made the lending side and the appraisals really sketch.
Well, and I think the important part about this too is these are the situations that you see most people get up in arms about. These, like I said earlier, these are the situations where you see people go, real estate agents are shit. They're just trying to capitalize. They're just trying to make money. Mm-hmm. Really want to stress the point that there is a difference between realtors and real estate agents and wholesalers.
And investors.
And investors. Well, yeah, and that's what I was going to say is an investor and a wholesaler does not care who lives in the house.
They care
see the
about
price
numbers.
Point. Exactly. They see the price point. They see their spreadsheet. And unfortunately, guys, that's the society that we live in. You can do that, right?
It's an emotionless transaction.
Exactly.
They look at numbers and that is it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And like we've said multiple times, is real estate is a very emotional transaction.
Now, disclosure. That's how you cover your butt and no one's getting taken advantage of. Mm-hmm. Now you come to Jameson and said, hey, I have some investors. We don't have to put it on the market. You don't have to go through those headaches. Where's the happy number?
Yes.
250. Boom. Let me find some investors. Disclose. I'm going to make a profit off of this. Mm-hmm. I'm going to make a finder's fee. You okay with it? Yes. Sign some documents. They could be by attorneys or not, something that'll stand up in court. As long as you disclose everything, I believe there's nothing ethical, not ethical about it. And the commission's fine with that because you disclosed to him and he said, I don't care that you make a profit, just get it off my hands. This is my number. Yep. Then you get the wholesale. That's a whole different story.
Correct. And we've touched on it in the past, but when you hear Oscar say commission, what you're talking about is he's talking about is the real estate commission. There's literally a board of people.
It's called DORA, the Department of Regulatory Agencies, and that oversees not just real estate agents, anybody that has a license in Colorado, hairstylists, different trades. DORA oversees all of us.
You guys want a total side note?
They're not for us, by the way.
Go for it.
You know who doesn't require a license in Colorado?
Home
inspectors.
Shout out to
who?
No,
home inspectors.
So DORA's not there for us. They hold our license and they regulate us.
Yes,
exactly. They regulate us. They are there for the consumer. If we screw up, they're going to fine us, jail time, revoke or suspend our license.
So Oscar, let me ask you, does a wholesaler have to have a real estate license if someone's involved?
Not necessarily.
Nope.
Right. I back when I said I was a stone throw away from a whole racket here, there was a husband and wife that would go out, look for property, find an agent, and that's where I was connected. He was on my team. They would find the property, and then he would write the offer, and then their investor would buy it from them. And they had a company, they had a set up company.
Yep.
They would get a finder's fee and sell it to the investor, and they would get paid through the transaction and or through the investor. Moving forward, the investor would grab the property for like $300,000 in Park Hill, and then grab a straw buyer, someone in the community with good credit. Back then, you could do it.
Yep.
Sell that property for $450,000, pull that equity. Yep. But before they closed it, they sold the higher end first. So if it was $250 and they could push the value to $450, they would close the $450 first, right, and then transfer the money for the $250. So there was a transaction before title would transfer, and that's a double closing. That is illegal.
Yep.
The FBI got involved, CBI or FBI.
Wow.
The Bureau of Investigations got involved. Lenders and realtors went to jail.
Yeah.
My teammate, I was the lead agent there, did not.
Yep.
Because he would bring them to me. And I said, cross T's, dot I's, disclose.
Yep.
Disclose everything. And unfortunately, his contracts were in one of the CE credit classes of what not to do with Frescona before he passed away. And we were sitting there and he was like, yeah. I was like,
Yep.
Good thing you did the right thing.
Yep.
He disclosed everything. Everything was solid, but people went to jail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the whole thing with wholesaling, right? And it's kind of a touchy subject, but you're essentially selling paper.
Yep.
You're essentially you're selling title.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the rap against it is that for by and large, and it's hard to, I don't want to say taking advantage of, but they target distressed properties. And that, like Oscar said, it could be a distressed property that needs work. It could also be a property that has a tax lien on it. It could be a property
or a distressed person,
or a distressed person, or an elderly person that doesn't know any better. And I have a recent example. I had a listing up in Arvada, and it needed some serious work. And we were priced at like $470,000, something like that. And we were getting offers. Okay. Well, if two things, one, if it was an inexperienced agent or somebody that was lazy and didn't look at the contracts, a wholesaling offer, especially because now you're starting to see wholesalers in the form of large firms versus just individuals that are driving for dollars, versus a cash offer from a flipper, are very different. And the reason they're different is because on the flipper side, right? If I'm an investor and I want to buy a property, I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to offer you $455,000 cash. We close in 21 days. I don't want any inspections. We're going to flip the house, whatever.
We're closing in 11.
Whatever it is, right? 10 days, 11 days. That contract looks one way, or that offer looks one way. If you have that exact same offer, hey, here's a cash offer for 400 and blah, blah, blah. We're going to also close in 11 days. But they have a couple of addendums. And one of the big ones is assignability of the contract, which means they are reserving the right to take that contract, like Oscar said, and send it to somebody else. The other piece, and this is where people need to be very careful, so depending on what their goals are when they're selling their house, is they have a back out clause that will go all the way up to the day of close. And essentially say, if we cannot find a suitable buyer for this house or title, we're going to take our earnest money back and we're going to cancel the contract.
Yep.
Which is very bad news if you have to sell this house to buy your next one and you think, or your agent thinks that it's just a normal, hey, I got a cash offer, we're going to close in 21 days. And then all of a sudden day 20 comes in and your agent didn't look at that contract or verify if it was a wholesaler or not. And all of a sudden on day 21, you got to tell your seller, hey, they backed out.
And I would love to say that. I mean, to me, hearing that, I'm like, dude, no. Yeah. I've been doing this long enough that would be the first thing that would throw.
So we did that.
There was no freaking way that would. As soon as I opened the email, I would have spotted it and I would have been like, right. That's not even a thing, right?
But there's a lot of people.
There is a lot of agents out there
that won't know.
I hate to use this example, but I got a phone call this weekend. Actually, it was a text from a dear friend that she has a lot of mutual friends, and we're all real estate agents. And I'm not picking on you. I was using it as an example, but she needed something. And I said, and I'm not going to go into specifics, but I said, I'm tired of, I didn't hire you or any of our friends because I wanted to be neutral. That's bullshit. We are all great agents. I'm not going to, if one of our mutual friends ends up using one of you, I'm going to be great.
Yeah.
They're good agents. And you know what? If they're in trouble, I'm going to help them.
Yep.
If your deal goes south, hey, Oscar, if the client or you call me, I'm all in. You're friends of mine, right? So she called and she wanted some advice or some of my resources. I said, I'm sorry, you stay neutral. I have to stay neutral because legally I have to.
Yes,
I have to stay neutral.
Yeah, you can't give advice.
Yeah, if you're on a contract, if you're on a contract with another agent, I cannot intervene, give you any real estate advice. I'm sorry, even if you're my friend. It is unethical. It is illegal, right? So I told her, I said, not only are you getting 20 years of experience if you hire me, you're also getting 6 to 7 contractors at my disposal. If something is done, what she came to me, it would have been handled a week into the transaction. I said, this agent should have got it. It just shouldn't be an issue.
Well, and with that being said too, we have, as the market, quote unquote, picks back up and we're heading into the spring, we're seeing things go on. We're talking about wholesalers and them coming in and taking these houses that a lot of the time would mostly be for first-time home buyers, that they're lower priced. You just have to put a little bit of work into, right? And what we see a lot of is because that's happening, and really there hasn't been any cap on industry people coming in or companies coming in, buying up literal blocks of low-income neighborhoods and then reselling them. It's really affecting the market.
Right, but there has been in the past. A good friend of mine, Ed Hazlett, he's an agent here. I think it was in Scranton, Ohio. He literally was buying up blocks.
Yeah.
Because they were going for like 20 grand. So
yeah.
you'd grab a pool of investors, and he literally had blocks.
Well, and that's what I mean.
And that's going to segue into
well, exactly. And that,
you know exactly where we're going
right.
with that.
And that's what I mean is now you're seeing a lot of the stuff change with the market, and a lot of people are seeing, oh, well, wait, if the inventory is so low, but there's so many buyers, and wait a second, isn't this what happened in 2008? Isn't this what turned it all down? What's the market's going to crash? Guys, we're not doing this as a grab. We're not doing this as a look at us, listen to us, but it's a common question and we're going to address it. So a big question that we have now is the housing market going to crash, and will home prices drop in 2023?
And I'm going to go ahead and open with, do you want fear or do you want good? Because you could swing it either way.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And being a product of 2008, and I lived through it.
Yep.
And again, we're not grabbing because I hope it doesn't. I had
nobody wants that to happen.
I wear hats because when I shaved my head. That's a product of COVID. I couldn't see my barber, and I was like, screw it, it's going anyway. But I lost a lot of my edge during the short sale years. It's not fun, but I'm gonna go ahead and say no.
Yeah.
There's too much equity on the table.
Well, yes.
And the job market is decent, and we don't have the products that cause that short sale. It's not,
Yes.
if there is a shift, there is a recession, it's not going to be for the same reason 2008. It will absolutely not, because those products are not around.
Yeah, exactly. You can't get, the loans aren't
You can
available
fact check the
anymore.
hell out of that
the
one, too.
backgrounds aren't there anymore for it to happen again. That, again, we learned from 2008, and the way that they were writing their loans and giving their loans out with the limits and everything, that's what got us into the trouble that we were in.
I could talk about that subject for an hour.
Well,
So I'm going to go ahead and let, he's been patient, because
Right.
I'm like, oh, I was in the prime of who I was.
Yep.
That took a lot for me, guys. It
Oscar,
really
Oscar
did.
has PTSD right
I
now.
do,
That's what's
man. I
happening.
really do. So I'm going to let them go ahead, but then I want to circle back around of why, how, and what we did during that time.
Absolutely.
So let's address a couple things. The first one I want to address is what you brought up: institutional investors.
Yep.
Right? People have this. It's almost like a shadow creature of like BlackRock and all these different people and stories in the news saying, hey, these investors are coming in and they're buying up blocks and blocks of houses and whole subdivisions and so on and so forth, which is true. But there's context behind it. So we measure home ownership rates in the United States as what percentage of homes are actually owned and lived in by homeowners versus investors. Okay. And a healthy-ish market, and what we've seen historically in the past, is between 60 and 65% home ownership throughout the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Even with BlackRock and all these different companies coming in and purchasing from an investor standpoint, and the mom and pop investors
Elaborate
coming
who
in.
BlackRock is.
Right?
When I hear BlackRock, I coffee.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Well, BlackRock is just an investment capital firm, essentially. And they have over, I think it's $100 billion.
They have lots of money.
Lots of money.
A whole lot of money.
But
Deep
one
pockets.
of their largest business plans is to purchase real estate, right?
Yep.
So people go, oh my God, these guys are coming in, they're buying all these houses, it's going to drive home prices up, it's going to drive people out of the market. The reality is, over the last 5 years, home ownership rates, while this has been going on, have actually increased. And as of this year, home ownership is sitting just under 67%.
Yep.
So it's higher than it has been over the past couple of years. So I just want to dispel that. Yes, are they buying blocks of real estate? They are. What they're doing, though, is they're buying them in very specific targeted areas. And the reason they do that, they're not sitting there and like buying a house in your neighborhood, buying 3 in yours, buying 1 in mine, and so on and so forth. They keep it centralized because if they're going to own 150 properties,
They can control the market.
They can control them. Well, not the market necessarily, but they can control labor costs. They can control property management fees. They can control supplies that they need for renovation, so on and so forth. So it actually benefits them if they are going to buy places. It's going to be in the same very, very specific area, which is good because it means it doesn't start to raise the sea level everywhere, just in that one specific area. And then they're turning around and renting those houses.
And again, so they have a very specific business plan, right? It's not going to work in every market. So they do target a market that's going to fit their business plan because at the end of the day, and this goes back to that conversation we had a few weeks back, I had a family friend, I'm not going to go into that, asked another family member of mine to ask me which real estate company had the better inventory and cheaper houses.
Oh, yeah.
With that said, the general public, it's we're an intermediary, right? the general public sells the houses. We don't have this special inventory.
Yep.
So if you don't allow for this, it's not going to happen. I don't care what business plan you have. You still own your house. You still get to make that decision. You know what? Open Door doesn't come knocking on the door and says, "Give me your house, stick them up." They don't. They're going to incentivize you.
Well, yeah, and that's a great point too. As to with the housing market, like we were talking about before, is that right now, Jameson called it the great stalemate episodes ago when we first came back, but right now we have such a unique thing going on where we do have consumers going, wait a second, I do have a little bit of control here. And that's why we're seeing
a whole lot of it, actually.
Right? Mm-hmm. That's why what we're seeing is there is a battle going on between the high price homes and the people who don't want to pay and or can't afford them. Mm-hmm. So what, for me, what I see happening as far as, longevity goes, if these builders, if these new homes and sellers stay at these high prices, and people cannot or will not either get out of their current 2.3%, 3% interest rates in their homes and sell to buy, or they're just not willing to pay for that, they're going to sit on that inventory, and eventually prices are going to start to decrease because they have to get rid of that inventory.
It just has to balance out, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There was, I think the powers that be said this pandemic is going to screw us.
Yep.
What can we do? Mm-hmm. These interest rates, and I took advantage of it. I have a stupid low interest rate.
As anybody should have.
I saw it as free money.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not the time. It's not the time to buy because it was a steep increase of month over end increase of prices, but the interest rate was so cheap. I said, let's go for it. I told my wife, grab on, we're going. Well, so it was a battle too. Well, so with that, but what I'm trying to say is that those interest rates were almost fictitious, right?
Well, yeah.
And now we're having to balance out, and that's what's going to have to happen.
Yes.
And then NAR put up that Jameson sent it over, and it makes sense, right? The mortgage rate and the treasury, they go hand in hand, but there's a big gap, 3%. I think that's what it was. Mm-hmm. So moving forward, there's, again, when we talk about the market, there's so many variables. It's subjective. Do you want to hear the good or the bad?
Yep.
I think that economist hit it right on the nail. Hit the nail on the head. That we're going to stay, and I hope we do, about 5.5.
Yep.
That is a very healthy.
It's a good
interest
place
rate.
to be.
It's a great place to be because when we came out of the craziness of like the 90s into the 2000s, we were refinancing into the 5s and 6s, right? And then that made it healthy. And then there was subprime lending and all that other stuff, so that tanked it. And then that's when we came out of there, and then it went up, and then interest rates went back down to the fictitious stuff, and now we're here again. So history is going to repeat itself, and we can dictate where it might go by what happened in the past.
Yep.
But we eliminate the factors that caused the tanks back then.
Yeah.
Well,
so
go ahead. All I was going to say is everybody's expecting, and again, when you hear crash, example, crash is you're here, right? And then you tank. That is a crash. What we're going to experience is a pinball, or what's that? What's
a correction.
Well, Plinko, exactly. Yeah. What we're going to experience is a Plinko. Yeah, we're going to hit back and forth as we drop, and then we're going to find that settling point.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, so here's to answer the question: is the housing market going to crash? My personal belief, Oscar agrees with me. I think you do as well. The answer is no.
Yes.
But we're going to put a couple of graphics up so you guys, for watching, if you guys can look at this to kind of follow along. But essentially, any free market is dictated by a very simple principle. It's supply and demand.
Yep.
So let's take a look, and I'm just going to give you kind of 4 different reasons, data points, and then you guys can make this decision on your own.
Data points, guys. This is not opinion. This is data. This is statistics. This is math.
So most of my stuff is opinion and life experience. Data points.
Yeah. So here's data point number 1. Data point number 1 is we have underbuilt since 2008, and Oscar has specific experience in this, but essentially you had a large percentage of home builders in the U.S. go out of business in 2007, 2008.
Got bought out by a lot of
the bigger investment firms, got bought out by a lot of banks, which then sold those to the investor firms, so on and so forth. But the point is, since 2008, we have underbuilt below the national average of housing starts for 13 straight years. In that time period, for most of those years, our population has continued to grow. Right? So right there, you've got a demand of population. They may be younger, right? 2008, I graduated college. I'm a millennial. So by 2010, 12, 15, I'm now in the home buying process, right?
I'm an elder millennial.
So stat number one is we've underbuilt for the last 13 years.
And what does that mean? That means when
underbuilt
when
means
shit
that,
hit the fan,
yes,
builders stopped building
They
for
stopped
3
building
years. So we were 3 years behind.
and we
to
have
catch up.
and we have yet to catch up.
Right.
And then the pandemic hit. You had supply chain issues. You had labor issues, which is a whole other really interesting topic that we can go into on a different podcast as to why we have labor issues. Hint: it has to do with immigration policy. But anyway,
And the labor work skipped over Colorado after the
skipped
crash.
over a lot of places.
Yeah,
right?
they went
So-
to Texas. They
Yep.
went to the oil rigs. They went everywhere.
Exactly. So 13 years of underbuilding, which means we haven't produced enough houses to keep up with demand. That's supply issue number one. Supply issue number two, Charlie touched on it. We call it the great stalemate, right? You have the resale homes not moving because nobody wants to move from a 2.8% interest rate up to a 6.5% to upgrade. So they're staying put. Those houses are now not getting put back on the market.
Yep.
Okay. Now, when people say, well, supplies are going to come from a couple different places, the number one argument we get is delinquent mortgages, foreclosures, et cetera, because people just go back to their most recent reference point, which is 2008. So there's going to be a chart that we're going to put up that's going to show you guys what the foreclosure rate was in 2007, 2008
And why?
versus what it is now, right? So I looked up this statistic, but right now we're sitting at about 0.67% of mortgages are in danger of foreclosing or going delinquent within 90 days. 0.96%. That is literally 1/16th of where we were at in 2016, let alone 2007, 2008.
Yep.
So nothing is going to change that number because of what Oscar touched on earlier around record equity. People, if they are in trouble, can refinance, can pull a cash out refi, HELOC, et cetera, and start paying down debt.
Worst
So
case
I
scenario,
think
you're going to sell your house. You're going to sell your house,
and you're gonna make
not
money.
going to go into foreclosure.
Nope.
You're going to pull the equity and go somewhere else. On top of that, there is a multitude of programs.
Yeah, exactly.
State by state. Colorado had two that they ran out of funds, but there is a rental mortgage assistance program. So they saw that why we're not going to go back to that is because we've learned from it. One, we've had a ton of equity. Even if you bought last year, you still have equity. You're not going to lose out. You'll be stupid to let it go into foreclosure if you have equity.
Think the last number that I saw,
and the programs that are there.
Yeah.
well, I think the last number that I saw was over $23 billion in equity across the United States.
It's record. It's record setting.
Yeah.
Here's another statistic for you. Again,
You gotta say,
corner, man.
you gotta
We need
say
like a scoreboard.
James-
billions, not millions. Billions.
But here's
Yes.
another statistic, and this airs on like the extreme. Okay, so one of the unique things that's happening in 2023 is a lot of because there's still COVID relief funds going out.
Oh,
those end
absolutely.
this year. Okay,
PPAs or whatever.
those end this year. Interest rates are up. So the World Economic Forum takes a stock and tries to predict how many homes are going to go into delinquency within the next 90 days. Okay. So in 2022, it was 256,000. Okay. Their projection, if all things remain equal, this year, that number is going to jump up and it's going to double, which is scary, to 580,000 homes. Right. So if you read an article and say foreclosures are forecasted to double in 2023 and you take it at face value, then yes, that is a scary number. But if I were to tell you that 580,000 is below 2016 when we were in a, in, it wasn't terrible time as
it was kind of the neutral zone.
it was neutral zone.
Yeah.
We averaged 670,000 90-day foreclosure or delinquent period households.
And I hate to use the
in the United
COVID
States.
statistics for all this, but again, when we were going into COVID, they were like, "Oh well, it's gonna, it's gonna affect." I'm going to use affect because I don't want to use the other word. 30,000 Americans per year, but then the flu affected 90,000. So it's one of those kind of stats, right?
But that's the
if
whole
you
thing.
look at it from where we're going into, it's going to double. Yes, it's scary, but let's use some numbers to compare, right?
Well, and that's the whole thing.
And it's subjective. Let's compare where we were coming out of
I
to
could
now.
say I'm going to drink 150% more whiskey
Exactly.
today than I did yesterday.
That's what
but I didn't drink any whiskey yesterday.
Absolutely.
statistics are good.
That's great
gives us
analogy.
the information.
Yes.
They're great and give us the necessary information to gauge.
Yep.
But in a world where we are being overrun by content, by things that are just being spit at our face, it's on you to take the time to actually read through and look at the numbers. As Jameson said, you see an article that says foreclosures are going to go double over the. Yeah,
We're doubling from
Compared to what?
from 0.6% to 1.12% on the high end this year.
Exactly.
Which is nothing. 1.12% of 150 million households in the United States, right? It's not a big number. So let's recap real quick. Underbuilt for 13 years, that affects supply. record low mortgage rates that are forcing people to stay in their homes because it's affordable and they don't want to pay a 6% interest rate. So they're not putting their homes on the market. That affects supply. And then the foreclosures that some people assume will affect supply by dumping houses into the market that are foreclosed on is not nearly as bad as the media is making you believe it to be.
Okay. Well, we're going to start getting the phone calls. Hey, give me some foreclosures. Give me some.
Well,
they're not out there.
I've been getting those emails months now.
I don't get.
You know,
I mean, the investors are knocking down my door.
Yeah.
First of all, I would invest if it was there. Two, I have 3 family members and a few friends that are hardcore investors that have deep pockets. There's nothing out there, guys.
Well, and I mean,
don't let the media dictate what you want because it's going to be scary or not.
And that could lead us into our next question.
Well, hold on. There's one more. There's one more point.
Go for it.
Because we hit the 3 supplies. So now we look at demand. Okay. If we are in a recession, you would assume that demand on housing would start to decrease. What we saw in January and February is a year-over-year increase in the number of showings and the number of homes that have closed. We bottomed out essentially at the end of 2022 because of interest rates, but now you're starting to see more homes go under contract at a faster pace than they have for an entire year. So if that's happening, now what you get is an imbalance between your supply, which for those previous 3 reasons is low, demand for this last chart by NAR, National Association of Realtors, showing the amount of showings and closed listings over the last 2 months is increasing, which means buyers are coming to the market. There's just nothing on the market. So what's that going to do? Yes, interest rates are going to put downward pressure on prices, but demand is going to put upward pressure on prices, which is why Charlie said, if we're going to see anything happen from a price standpoint or home valuation, it is going to be a slow and steady uptick, downtick, uptick, downtick, Plinko, based on seasonality, based on micro market, based on migration, depending on individual states, all that kind of stuff.
There's so many different variables, but I think I agree. But it's something that has to happen.
Absolutely. Well,
we can't stop that from
And here's
happening.
the other thing too, right? And again, here comes, the predictability of where you are, right? Living in Colorado. And again, I feel like I have a really unique view on it only because I come from 2 states that were very targeted by people with money. And what I mean by that is when I lived in North Carolina, a lot of the time you got all these goddamn Yankees are coming down here spending their money and buying up all our houses. Yes, absolutely. And now you're in Colorado and you hear all these damn Californians and Texans are coming in and buying up. Guys, that plays so much into it, right? If Colorado right now, if Colorado was based on the income of Coloradans and who can afford in Colorado, the market would adjust a lot faster. But what we're getting is an influx of California who had a jump of over 100% in their equity value over the last 5 to 8 years. Then Texas, same exact thing. So now they're able to come in.
Shout out to Joe Rogan. Can we do that? He mentioned Evergreen. That's why I brought up Evergreen. He was like, shh. I was like, no, don't mention Evergreen.
Right? Exactly. And it's now you have, so that's what does it too, is if it's reliant on solely the population in the state, it'll regulate slower. But people will move where it's easier. So you will get people who are spending a lot of money in New York, moving to North Carolina, moving to South Carolina, buying those cheaper homes. You'll get people from California moving to Colorado, buying those homes. And that is keeping those prices up. So that's another factor that you have to consider is when Jameson says it's different markets, it's different things, that also plays into it. And that is a large part of what's happening in a bunch of states.
Effect, right?
You have to zoom out.
Because that goes into another subject to this, right? Relos. How many people have you relocated out of Colorado because of that? I have some clients that went to Lynchburg.
Yeah.
And then now that market, it's like, now they're the ones saying, well, the people from Colorado are coming and buying all our property. And, well, it goes into stages. Right?
There's a great
it's
South
a
Park
cycle.
episode that
It's
you
a
guys
big
should watch
Yes.
that deals with people moving into Colorado because it makes fun of the fact that, like, yes, if you live here, it affects you. However, if you zoom out, what you'll see by and large is people move to affordable areas.
Yes.
And right now, it may not seem like it if you live here, but compared to Southern California, compared to Austin, Texas, compared to New York City, Colorado's affordable. And on top of that, most of the time, those are higher wealth individuals that are looking for job opportunities. So they can afford to move here and they're going to move to Colorado or, Idaho or Utah or Arizona, where you have a robust economy. And we talked about it in a previous episode. That's going to be the natural occurrence. And then once Colorado gets too expensive, guess what's going to happen? You're going to start to see people move out. And they're going to move to Oklahoma, Wyoming, Iowa. And then Iowa's going to be like, oh my God, get the fuck out of my state. That's just what it's going to be. And then what's going to happen in Iowa? As people move in and demand starts to increase and supply decreases, now their home prices are going to go up. And they're like, you know what? I don't like Iowa anymore. I'm going to go to Missouri, right?
Well, and it's funny, when I was working for Samsung and I would drive up to Fort Collins, if you guys don't know, Fort Collins is like right there to the state line, right? So as you're coming in on
where's my Rammies at?
On I-25, as you're coming in.
Yes, I'm not a Rammy, but I've definitely sent a whole lot of money there. My wife, my brother. I mean, they've all.
But as you're driving south down 25 from Wyoming, there's a billboard that says, what was it? It was something along the lines of like, Wyoming's way better, you should move here.
Yeah.
And it's right there on the line. Perfect example. That is the state going, hey guys, I know it's too expensive, so come this way. Perfect example.
And you know what? Wyoming is desolate, kind of crazy. But dude, what's that lake we went out to? Glendo. Oh, it was fun. Love it. Oh man, Wyoming, it has a ton of cool places.
I see so many people wanting to move to Montana now.
They're like Gillette, Casper.
I had a client that I almost listed.
Hey, my buddies are from Montana.
Helena, Montana.
Shout out to Sean Maker.
Yeah,
they're from Billings and
is that
Miles City.
Is that the agents you were talking to me about?
No.
All right, so with what we know that this is a touchy subject, and we know that we're going to get a lot of comments on it. We know that we're going to get a lot of people that are interested in this, but
also we want your opinion.
Yes,
honestly, like this is an open dialogue. We have statistics, we have personal experience, we have opinions. But that's the whole purpose, right? If somebody can come to us and give me a different opinion based off of, real life experience or statistics or whatever, I'd love to have that conversation.
And just because we don't have a setup like a TED Talk, I don't care if you bring the leading economist in.
Yeah.
I have questions for him.
Yeah.
I have life experience. I'm going to question the crap out of him. I don't care how cool or educated he looks or speaks eloquently. I'm still have real life experience.
It's an opportunity
Why
to
is this
learn.
happen? I will nail that guy to the wall.
I just want to know.
Let you
right?
know.
So please let us know in the comments what you guys think. We'd love to hear it.
Well,
and I would love to have someone like that on the podcast because after they have a few drinks, they're going to tell you the real stuff.
Right.
They'll tell you the truth. You'll be like, "Oh, that shit was bullshit."
Maybe we don't want that. The economy's screwed.
Right.
Oh, okay, you know what? Tom,
get the hell out.
on the note of of investors coming in and people foreclosing and all of that,
it's a big fear.
It is.
It's a big fear.
100%.
And what that leads to, a lot of the time, these people defaulting and needing to get out of their situations, it leads to short selling, right? And short selling, at least from what I know in the industry, is one of those cloudy figures that sits in the background for agents and for people.
So good thing we actually have somebody here today.
Yeah, right.
That has a ton of experience in short selling.
I think so. It almost as if they've been doing it for almost 20 years.
Yes.
I wonder who it might be.
It made me throw up a little bit in my mouth. But yes, I am a short sale specialist.
Oscar, the question,
I am a short sale specialist.
The question we got was, hey, I'm nervous about inflation rates. I'm nervous about the federal fund. I'm nervous about a lot of different things. If I have to short sell my house, what does that look like? What's the process? What do I have to do?
Those are all valid points, and they're all scary, right? Because your home is the biggest financial decision you'll ever make. It's your biggest payment, and you want to make sure that you navigate that the best way possible. And the reason that short sales exist is because and the only way they exist is if you're upside down. If you have equity in your house, there's no reason why you should short sell.
So if you're upside down, what does that mean?
That means that your house, you purchased it for $500,000, and now the market dictates that you owe $450,000 to $300,000, right? So there's a deficit there. So the way you navigate a short sale is you have to get to the bank and their representatives and their attorneys at times. And you say, you know what, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, they have some hardships. They lost their job. There has to be a hardship. You can't just say, you know what, I don't want to pay this anymore, I'm out.
Right.
You can, and I have structured those, but those are the ones that they're probably going to say no. So you come in and you say, look, Mr. and Mrs. Smith lost their job, or there was a hardship that happened, there was a divorce, something. We now need to sell the house, so they need to see how much, if there's $100,000 that you're in the red, you make a deal with the bank and say, you know what, we're going to sell it for as much as you can. We're going to settle, and you do a settlement with the client. Mm-hmm. Real estate fees are in there already, so you don't have to pay outside of that. Now, there were some stipulations back that you were going to get taxed on that money, the difference, or it was just going to go away. Most of the time, they just went away. So to structure it, it was a whole process. It was almost like formulating a loan. So I was a loan officer before I was a real estate agent, and that's why it came easy to me. So you had to hardship letter, you had to show your financials, you had to do a market analysis or a BPO on the property, and you had to constantly stay on your rep for who was holding your file. And then sometimes I had to talk to a couple of attorneys here in town.
So do you get in that situation when you say, home evaluation, do you pay for an appraiser? Do you get an agent to do a comparative market analysis? How is your home valued?
So when you dealt with foreclosures, you did have to do what's called a BPO, a broker price opinion. With short sales, you just send in your market analysis, a CMA, a current market analysis. That's what CMA stands for. So as a realtor, you pull up Jameson's house, and then you look for the similar houses around his block, no more than a quarter mile if possible. You go up to half a mile, apples to apples, there's your value, right? So you send that in alongside everything else. Then the asset manager looks at it, and then they give you what they think is going to happen. Now, the key to that is just being relentless. I mean, I am an animal when it comes to, I need an answer. If you're not going to give it to me, give me someone that will.
Yep.
So I got a question. When you say that you could go to the bank during a short sale process, who, if it's successful from start to finish, who purchases the house?
The
The
general
lender?
public.
Or the general public?
Yes. So if you're short selling property, say that I'm short selling your house.
Yep.
So you come to me, I get everything ready, I prep it. We don't go on the market until I have some kind of connection with the bank, their representative, right? The asset manager. And then we just throw on the market, just like a regular sale.
Okay.
But you have to tell the general public, this is a short sale. Give us time.
Got it.
The sale of this home is going to be contingent on the short sale approval. So all your dates are SSA, short sale approval. So earnest money, that's pretty hard. And everything else starts on short sale approval, because the bank won't give you the thumbs up until you have a contract and we're ready to go.
And when we say the bank, it's whoever holds the note on the house.
Whoever holds the note and whoever the asset manager is.
Got it.
Right? So we go on the market at a good price.
Yep.
We're going to have tons of offers. Hopefully we go above to where we don't need it. That's why it's kind of skewed right now. I don't think it'll happen.
Sure.
But anything can happen.
Right.
So you go on the market, you go on a contract, and that's why people were hesitant on buying short sales, because if you weren't good at it, you were going to be 6 months into it. So you were going to buy a house, and to get that deal, you'd have to wait it out 6 months. Don't mean a 2-mile horn, but my quickest short sale was 2 weeks.
Toot toot.
On average, 2.5 months. I was on it because I'm relentless. So the general public buys it. You get the short sale approval. You go and you close it just like normal.
Okay.
It is a special. It's a special warranty deed because all that happens.
Yes.
But the buyer,
which we talked about,
the buyer doesn't have to worry about
special
anything.
warranty deed. Go to episode 18 and take a look at that. We talked to a title rep about special.
And I'll put a
warranty
link
deeds.
right over here.
Yep.
And the thing is that the buyer that buys it, it's a normal transaction. You don't have to worry about anything. It's just time wise.
So I got a question.
The seller does though. The seller just settled with their bank.
So here's my question. What is the difference between a short sale and a foreclosure?
A short sale, you own the property and you're settling with the bank the debt owed.
Okay.
A foreclosure is the bank owns your house now.
But they will put it on.
Yeah,
Potentially an
the
auction.
seller has nothing to do with it. And I did a lot of foreclosures. I was on a team where we did REOs, real estate owned. That means the bank picked up the property, contacted an REO agent, and said, hey, sell this for us. Now, the general public, sometimes there was a renter in there, and they didn't even know that their landlord never made that payment.
Right.
And the house is no longer their landlord. They were just keeping the money and let it go to foreclosure. The foreclosure can technically start your second missed payment.
So, and that's the reason I bring this up, is because if we have people that have this fear of potentially not being able to make a mortgage payment, it may make sense for them to reach out and talk to an agent about a short sale.
Absolutely.
Before they get to the foreclosure part, because they will exert more control because they still own the asset.
Yes.
Versus foreclosure, they don't.
And there's a lot of programs.
Right.
I help people short sale their home and get paid.
Right.
There was a bank.
People are afraid because they don't know the difference, right?
Yeah,
They
and
just
talk
are-
to us. We'll make those. A lot of
Right.
people are embarrassed. They're like,
Exactly.
I'm losing my home.
So-
I don't want to talk to the bank. What are they going to think of me?
Well-
You know what? It happens to the best of us.
Mhm.
Let me do the heavy lifting. Let me ask those questions. Let me
Yep.
advocate for you.
Yes.
Because there was a client in the Bluffs. I short sold his house. He thought he was going to make $0. He was already, scrounging his last pennies and pulling from his 401k to go rent a house. I made a connection with the asset manager. I got him $10,000.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. So
$10,000 to move out of his house.
So to recap on that point, on the on the short sale versus foreclosure, when you go short sale, you have the opportunity to either make money or save your credit, because
Save your ass. Period.
Yeah, because the agent who you're working with, whatever entity it is, when you short sell, that is what it's there for, is for you to get out from underneath it in order for you not to be hurt for future gains on your credit.
And have the ability to negotiate the settlement with the bank or whoever holds the note.
But
versus
also
a foreclosure is they're taking it and you don't get anything.
And you get an auction and whatever they come after.
and then you got the sheriff knocking on your door and you get out.
Exactly.
They will take all your belongings and put them on the front
And to
lawn.
Oscar's
it gets
point,
ugly.
that can happen within 2 missed payments.
Yep.
So if you understand, and again, this is hard
But
for a lot of
not
people.
to fearmonger, because it's in the bank's best interest not to foreclose.
100%.
So
Banks
contact your agent.
Banks are not in the business of
selling
own
homes.
real estate. They do not want to do it. However,
They do, but there's legislative.
they don't want to do it in the sense that it is from a financial and a legality standpoint.
Yes.
It's money they have to spend.
Yes.
They have attorneys, and that all costs money.
And I think they're going to be even total side note. Man, we have one of these an episode with the recent bank failures. They're going to be even tighter on the assets that they want to hold versus the ones they want. But the point is, and this is something that from a human behavioral standpoint, humility is not easy for anyone.
No.
But if you are in a position where you feel like, hey, you know what, whether it's inflation, whether it's the car payment, whether it's whatever, you lose your job, and you guys have questions on options before you start to miss payments, reach out.
Yes.
We can get you in contact.
I'm not going to
information,
judge.
Resources, etc. It is our job. Oscar says it all the time. I think he does a great job articulating it. We are here to fill a need.
Yes.
And if that need is you need unbiased, real, no bullshit advice about your current situation, that is what we are here for. So please do not hesitate to reach out. There is no judgment. I know it takes a lot of humility, but I promise you, if you do it, it is going to save headache, heartache,
money,
financials, mental space, a lot of different things. So not saying this is going to happen at all, but I wanted to touch on it because it was a really good question that we had. And I'm glad we have Oscar here to kind of explain the differences. Don't hesitate to reach out to us, guys.
And even if you do, so short sales and foreclosures, as far as, and if guidelines change, I got to look into it. Again, I kind of hate looking back at my short sale days, but when you short sale a property or you foreclose, you could buy within 3 years, right? You could buy again right away. The difference is, one, you have control with the short sale. Two, your other financial credit stuff stays afloat, and you rebound a little bit faster than just a straight foreclosure. Foreclosure, the bank owns it. You are now on the streets pretty much. It's up to them when they send the sheriff. I've been there. Or they used to send me out, right? I was low man on totem pole when I was on this team. I would do cash for keys. We were the REO agent. Steve was the main agent. He said, hey, Oscar, I'm sorry. You got to go do cash for keys. That would suck if it was a tenant. Because I'd show up at your house, knock on the door. They'd open up like, well, who the hell are you? I was like, look, I'm Oscar Barra. I was with Keller Williams at the time. I'm with Keller Williams. I am here.
OscarTheRealtor.com.
I'm OscarTheRealtor.com. Ding. I'm here representing Citywide. They were a bank back in the day. Citywide now owns your home. I'm here to give you options. I'm sorry if you do have a few minutes. If you don't, let's schedule some time.
It's a repo.
And they would
essentially.
I was the repo man.
You're the repo.
They
man.
would slam doors at me and yell at me. And we paid our rent on time. I'm sorry, but your landlord didn't. We now own your property. Well, Citywide does. I'm here to represent them, but I have options. And they would freak out. I'd sit, and that was where the hardest conversations, because they have their kids, their families, and they're there, and I'm sitting there telling them, you got to go. And the bank would allot me a certain amount of money. They would have to agree. You got 60 days. You got to broom sweep the home, get everything out, and the bank has given me the authority to offer you $5,000. Sometimes it was only $1,500. So I've seen it up to $10,000. But those were crap conversations I had to do. I took no. They were not fun. I hated those.
Well, and here's the thing. I'll give. I am a product of that situation. I had that happen to me. My mother is bipolar schizophrenic, and my father passed away when I was 18, when I was in college. So what ended up happening was I went away to college. My dad was the one that helped manage all the finances. Lo and behold, taxes didn't get paid, whatever didn't get paid. I came home from Christmas break, got a phone call from a sheriff. Hey, Charlie, I just want to is this Mr. Sardelli? Yep. I just want to let you know that your mom and your dog are walking on the street. I was like, what are you talking about? They're home. It's exactly what happened. Somebody came and said, hey, somebody bought the taxes on your house. You no longer own the home. They gave us 8 hours. 8 hours to clean out an entire home. Okay? That can happen.
How long did you live in that house?
We were in there for 6 years. That was the house that we moved to North Carolina.
Now, before any of the real estate agents and people that know the state of Colorado law, what state were you in?
North Carolina.
Okay. Colorado's a little different.
Yep.
There's more time, more leeway.
Yep.
That shit would not happen. But still, sheriff shows up at your house.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to tell you when that timeline is done, you need to get out.
Yep.
And then a company's right behind them with either the agent or the new buyer. And they're going to start hauling your stuff out to the front lawn. And you better get a U-Haul because that's going to be free game to your neighbors.
And that's the thing is that.
And again, I'm not trying to, it's just his reality.
Well, no, and that's what
I hope it never happens. And I'm not fear mongering, but it is the ugly, harsh reality of what real estate is. We're here to not let that happen.
But that's why I want to share it too. Not only that, but guys, it sucked. I was pissed. But at the end of the day, somebody didn't pay, and that's what has to happen.
Well, here's the other point.
Title companies love to use that. You don't pay, you don't stay.
But here's the deal. So somebody didn't pay. But I would also venture to guess that she didn't know what her options were.
Exactly.
Absolutely, 100%.
Well,
know your options, know the law, and that's what we do.
Not only that,
right?
Oscar, you mentioned it earlier. Someone will come and say, hey, here are your options. Again, my mom didn't know. Somebody came to the house, the person who bought it, and gave her an option, said, hey, I don't want to buy this from taxes. I want to give you the money. My mom didn't know, and she pushed him away. I had no idea that this was going on. If I did, I would have been like, Ma, the fucking short sale. Let's get something for it, right? But we foreclosed, and that's what happened. And guys, it sucks when that's my parents' entire life that we had to pack up in 8 hours, right? But what I want to really drive home is to all the people who think, real estate is a dirty business. They're kicking you out. Please recognize that there comes a level of personal liability and personal responsibility. I get it. Times are hard and stuff happens. But as somebody who went through it, I'm a real estate agent now because I want to stop that from happening to people.
Yep.
We do this podcast to give you the information just like we are, so this does not happen to you and you could be well prepared.
Yeah. If
right?
it reaches one person that is potentially going through this based on their economic situation, it's a win.
Exactly.
And what's crazy is I have a similar story. That's how I ended up in the business.
I was going to also
I
say
had to
that,
short sale my mom's own home.
Yep.
There was predatory lending going on.
Mm-hmm.
My mom's husband wanted to start. He was a truck driver. And he was working at another job, but he was like, I want to own my own truck. So they pulled the equity of their home.
Yep.
All of it. They went up to like 95%, almost all the money.
Which you almost can't do anymore.
Right.
Again,
pulled all the money out.
Back to 2008. You can't do that.
Yep.
Put them in a subprime lending. It was interest only, 7.5%. Right. Their payment went and charged them. And this is FBI got involved, and that guy ended up going to jail. He charged them $22,000 to do the transaction.
Mm-hmm.
Pulled all their equity and then charged them $22,000.
Yep.
Their payment was stable, a little bit higher.
Mm-hmm.
But after the second year, their payment went from, I think, $1,200 because their house. I mean, this was when prices were super low in Colorado.
Yep.
Their house went from, I think they were paying like $900 actually. They went from $900 interest only to $2,400
Mm-hmm. Well,
overnight.
Now,
which it was crazy back then because now we have our average mortgage rate is like $3,500. But back then that was crazy, right? And they were on a fixed income. The trucking business didn't take off. It was a mess.
Mm-hmm.
I remembered the real estate agent that sold my mom's house said she took a liking to me. Shout out to Gloria Lada, thank you. She said if you ever want to get back into the business after high school, there's a long story behind that, but I did.
And he is.
I ended up becoming a lender. I actually
what you guys didn't know is what was her name?
Gloria.
Gloria also wore smokers caps.
No, actually, Gloria is old school, man. Gloria's been in this business forever. She's one of the owners of a Remax franchise.
That's awesome.
Awesome lady, though.
Hey, Gloria, thanks for getting this dude to do real estate.
We
enjoy our time with him. So
I know what you guys are thinking. how the hell are they going to pull themselves out of this hole and get back to the positivity that is real estate served on the rocks?
Yeah.
But
are we there already?
but-
Sheesh.
what we're going to do is continue on. And I'll tell you guys, again, we share these experiences just so you know that what's possible and you can have a positive outcome from it.
And
no
that we're
matter what.
human. We're not out there trying to
Exactly.
screw
No,
everybody.
man,
You know,
we're here
we're
to
100%.
service. That's it.
With that being said, another question that we did get that we really did want to cover, because we understand that, again, words are plastered everywhere on news articles, on
Forever.
Facebook articles, TikTok, whatever you're looking at, right? And a lot of the things that we're seeing is there's a housing shortage. Red lights, flashing, housing shortage. What does that mean, right? So we had somebody that commented and said, what is a housing shortage, okay? So we touched on it a little bit with the supply and demand when talking about the market, but just to clarify a little bit more, what a housing shortage is and what leads to it. Jameson?
Yeah. So the question essentially was, somebody explained to me what a housing shortage is, because we still have homes in the U.S. They're not just disappearing. So, and we're building more. So how do we have a housing shortage? Essentially, this goes back to the statistics, right? You can manipulate them to say what you want to.
What narrative do you want to go
project,
down?
right? So when we talk about a housing shortage, it is exactly what it sounds like. We do not have enough houses to satisfy the demand. Now, people will say, well, what about all the houses that are still here and yada, yada, yada? Here's the deal. The way we look at a housing shortage is we look at the population growth versus the housing permits, okay? And we'll go into a little unique segue.
And again, hyperlocal,
Hyperlocal.
county, not
But
going to
essentially,
build
if
anymore.
we have a year or multiple years where we're at 1.5 to 2 million added in our population, okay? And that includes births, deaths, et cetera.
Is that Colorado?
No, nationwide.
Nationwide.
And in those same years, our new housing starts are only 1 million to 1.5 million. What we're saying is we are not starting enough homes to eventually satiate the demand that is going to happen.
Satiate. He used
Dude, I'm
another
going
one of those
verbose.
words.
I told
Hell
you.
Yeah, thesaurus in the house.
Told you. That's that college education. Shout out CU Boulder,
At
baby.
its best. Mrs. and Mr. Amorous, it's working.
But we don't have enough houses to satisfy that demand, which that's what satiate means. In case you guys are watching, keeping score, that's what it means. So what we're saying with a housing shortage is that we have groups of, buyers. Okay. So our biggest group so far in history has been the baby boomers. Why? Well, because everybody went to World War II. They came back.
Got shaggy, baby.
And
You
again,
can ask your parents
you
where
know I
Dale
love
come
playing
from.
devil's advocate. Again,
shaggy, baby.
statistics and numbers are always going to
It
have
is.
variables because the people that are
Yes.
being born are not buying houses right now. And the
Exactly.
baby boomers need to freaking die still. I'm not being
Exactly.
insensitive. It's just numbers. You
Well,
got to understand the numbers and
exactly.
what
Yes.
they're dictating
Yes.
and what they're for.
Exactly. So we saw the baby boomers come in and buy up a ton of houses. Okay. And as they're, and if you think about it, if you're watching this and you're 25 to 37 years old, whatever it is, a millennial, graduated college between, 2004 to 2015. Now you're getting into, I have a girlfriend. Now I'm married. Now I have a kid. Now I have a job.
Or you
so
want
on and so forth.
investments. I mean,
You
hell.
want to buy a house, plain and simple. Okay. And right now, I believe millennials are about 39% of the home buying population currently. That is a large number when you bring that into, we have 150 million households.
What's the group above millennials?
Gen Z.
Gen Z, you
Yeah.
guys got screwed. I'm sorry.
Well,
man.
and they're next, right? They're going to be next.
Yeah, but
They
they're-
are-
they're-
years.
well, that's the
they're-
whole
they're-
thing is lower millennials and Gen Zers are a bigger population than the baby boomers.
Yes.
And this is what I think Jameson was alluding to when he
Yes.
started talking about the numbers and the statistics of it all, right? So if you look at the natural progression of it, boomers came in, they bought up because they could afford it, things were good. They bought, right? Now, boomers, as we said earlier, are owning these homes. And why would they sell these homes if they have so much equity and they're saving money by staying in
Again,
them?
a different generation because that generation said you got to grow up, you got to
Yes,
get
stay
married,
in
you
the
got to
home.
get the picket fence.
Exactly, the
that
American dream,
mentality.
right?
The other
Now-
generations have different thoughts of how to
and
do
that's
it.
what I was going to say is now you have these boomers that are sitting that have now given birth to an even larger generation, but because of the way the economy is now, as they're trying to enter in and as they're getting to the point where they can buy homes, boomers aren't selling. There is a shortage. So now they're not buying, which now leads to a lower amount of homes being built because less people are buying. And now you guys see the trickle effect as to what's going on and how it happens.
So if you go all the way back to 15, 20 minutes ago, we said that we've been underbuilding for 13 years. Had we been at our historical average,
we're 3 years behind for the last few years.
That's what I'm saying. But 13 years total. Like if you take the average of how many home starts we've had from 1975 until 2007, since 2008 until 2023, right? We've been under that average. In that time, our population has increased. Now we're getting to a point where the population is starting to decrease. Okay. And people
shout out Gen Z and millennials.
Yes. And there's a couple different reasons, right?
Dogs, not kids. Dogs, not kids.
Yes. You have
dog
you have
parents don't count.
You have an aging boomer population. You've got COVID that killed X amount of people. You've got rising infertility rates. So we're not having
COVID that created a lot of people. Hey, I didn't have nothing else to do. All right. I had a COVID
and not
baby.
only that, but you have, because of affordability issues, you've got Gen Z and millennials choosing not to have children because it's not financially responsible. Right. So now you start to see this decline in population. And there's an argument that's made, and I've seen it on the internet a couple of different times where, well, if we have declining population, but we're starting to build more new homes, then we're not going to have a housing shortage anymore. Yes.
But those babies that are born aren't buying houses right now. Again, variables.
Well, not only that, but this goes back to the fact that I can take that statistic and say, yes, our population is declining. We're building more homes. Therefore, no housing shortage. Well, that is like the most basic analysis of statistics I've ever seen in my entire life.
And not only that, but I want to go ahead and shed a light. Oscar commented on it earlier. We saw a video on TikTok talking about, I'm not going to take info for real estate agents. Most of them don't own a home. Out of the three of us sitting here now, I am one that does not own a home. But as the one that is the lower millennial, the higher Gen Z, I'm going through the situation that you guys are going through. Me and my girlfriend are in an apartment now, and it's $2,000 a month. If we were to go and even get a townhome that was $330,000, $370,000, with the way that interest rates are, we would have to account for at least another $400 a month in living expenses. And as of right now, for us, that's not doable. And you know what? I'm okay with that. But again, I'm also aware that that gives me time to save. So granted, if you want to rent and you don't want to buy, dope, go for it. Don't do it. But please have the mentality of future expectations. And Jameson will tell you this. This is a skill that I just recently learned, right? Being able to think into the future.
Big picture.
Right. And so it's realizing that, yes, as of right now, it's hard. It's difficult. But again, do your research, find out the different programs that loans are offering right now.
Down payment assistance.
Exactly. There are options
VA
that we've
loan.
talked about. But I want to talk to you guys directly and say, I get it. It's hard right now. But instead of complaining about it and just taking it for what it is and eating the bad apple, recognize that you have an opportunity that, you're renting for $2,000 and the home cost is $2,400 at a low. Guess what? That's $400 a month that you can save. And now you save $400 a month for 12 months. Guess how much money you're going to have? And you can add that now to your down payment, which, hey, by the way, a higher down payment is going to give you lower monthly payments.
Not only that, options.
Exactly.
Talk to your local, very educated real estate agent, because if in your situation, let's explore our options.
Exactly.
Hey, I have a sister, a brother, a cousin, a friend that wouldn't mind renting from us. And then we throw all the numbers in one pot.
Exactly.
I love to give options. I'm not just going to sell you a freaking house. Let's explore all options. And if it doesn't work, you know what? Let's talk 6 months down the road.
And here's the deal. If you guys are watching this on our YouTube channel, okay, we've got an episode on VA loans and benefits. So go back and check that out. We've got an episode on down payment assistance. We've got an episode on the difference between FHA and conventional loans. All of those resources are at your fingertips if you guys want to take a look at them. When we talk about a housing shortage, this is all I'm going to say. Yes, we have one. No, it's not going to change within the near future. My favorite quote I've heard forever, though, when people go, well, should I buy now? Should I wait? Should I do this? I don't really know what's happening. There's something called timing the market, where you try and say, I'm going to get the best house at the lowest price with the best interest rate.
Good luck with that.
And there's time in the market, which means I'm going to buy this asset if it makes sense for me based on my monthly budget and so on and so forth, my situation. And then I'm going to sit there, I'm going to own it for an extended period of time. Okay. And I could come up with a statistic in your specific scenario that says renting versus owning, it's $400 a month difference.
And they go hand in hand. When rates go up, rents go up.
That's $4,800 a year.
So your rent's going to go up here in the next few months,
right?
if not year.
$4,800 a year you would pay extra from renting to buying.
Yep.
Okay. Well, if in the next 10 years I have a townhome that, yes, I paid $2,400 a month, but is appreciating on average at 3% per year.
Yes.
How long does it take to break even on that investment?
Exactly.
And that's going to be a smart real estate agent
it's-
and or lender.
Yes. Again, it's looking at your options, getting the right information, being vulnerable enough to let somebody know what your situation is financially, that they can actually help you.
And being vulnerable enough to say, this is what I do and I don't know.
Yep.
Here's my whole situation.
Yes.
Help me pull out what I need, because our fiduciary responsibilities to you. Your best interest is always at heart. So I'm going to take all this information, pull out what I need, and say, look, we don't need any of that. Let's keep that under wraps or whatever the case may be. But this is all you need to make this possible. Or say, you know what, you're missing this and that. Let's talk in 6 months. We can make this happen. A knowledgeable real estate agent will be able to do all of that.
Hell, we just did a 401k loan for a buyer as a down payment on a townhome because we ran the numbers with the lender and realized that even after paying the penalty of pulling the 401k, it made more sense to pull the 401k, use that as a down payment on a townhome, and then allow that townhome to appreciate. And they're going to make more money on the townhome than they would have on the 401k, including the penalty that they paid. There are options.
Oh boy!
And I'm going to go ahead and say that is not a plug for you to buy real estate with us. And for the guy that said that we're just out there trying to screw everybody, no, because I have gone on more real estate appointments to educate the public and not sell a house than sold. I will never sell you a house just for the benefit and the commission of the home.
Hey, Oscar, are you getting
20
paid?
years.
Hey, are you getting paid for this podcast?
Hell no, I'm not getting
getting
paid.
paid?
I'm not getting paid to do this podcast.
Absolutely
And
not.
I have
100%
wasted.
no.
I don't even say wasted. I have gained knowledge by educating the general public and
Iron
not selling a house.
sharpens iron.
Absolutely.
That is it.
So
And-
yes, there's some shitty agents out there that are going to sell you a house and make some money. They're probably not in the market anymore. I give them 5 to 10 years and then they're done. I'm still here.
Hey,
I'm longevity is
Oscar,
what I'm here
hey,
for.
real quick.
I
Did
wish
you
our
guys-
viewers,
I
please,
was-
if you're listening to this on audio, please, you have to go to the.
And it wasn't even on my comments. It was
you
on
gotta go to
Jameson's
I just
comment.
want you guys to look. I really want
passion.
you to look at the
The passion.
Just the video, please.
But and I'm going to plug this last thing, and then I'm going to hand it to Charlie. So you just said about there's different agents, so on and so forth. Correct me if I'm wrong. I was in Costa Rica enjoying the beach and the pool and like 18 Mai Tais. You guys did an episode on how to choose a realtor.
Yeah.
Go reference that episode, guys, in the YouTube channel. We'll give you, by we,
Again, put it
them, they'll give you the questions to ask, the things to look for, all these different tools that you guys can utilize. And here's, again, I'm going to say this. If you watch all this, you consume the information we're giving you, and you go, you know what? It doesn't make sense for me to buy. That's okay.
100%.
That is perfectly fine.
I will go ahead and tell you why too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally good.
It's an emotional process.
Exactly.
You could do all the stats, all the numbers. It will make sense. But at the end of the day, it's also an emotional
Yes.
Well,
decision.
and I love the fact that
And I'm very emotional, if you can't tell.
we're at episode 19 now, and I can tell we're getting into the groove of this thing. we're enjoying this podcast. We're rolling with it. It's been an hour and 20 minutes. Thank you guys so much for sitting with
We've
us.
gone over.
Appreciate you guys watching this.
100%.
Yes.
Yes.
And
We love
so,
you guys.
If
now-
you're still watching,
Yeah.
man, I love you.
with that being said,
Hey, if you're not watching, appreciate you.
Yeah.
Love you. This has been fun.
let's go ahead and move on to our one rock takeaway. I'm going to go ahead and pass
Are you
it
going to
off.
keep this concise?
Oh, we're gonna
Jesus,
try.
can we define?
We're gonna go ahead. All right, Oscar.
If you need to watch our podcast with the dictionary, I'm probably going to be doing the same thing later.
Oscar, go ahead and take it away, bud. Give us your one rock takeaway.
Rome, I came in kind of with a biased attitude because I do not like the Willet that I had.
Oh, wait. One rock takeaway.
Oh, sorry. I thought we were already given the rock. Sorry.
Right, not yet. I'm excited for the rocks. But
No, one rock takeaway is, for me, real estate's a very emotional process. I've learned that throughout the years that I've been working in real estate, and I will never take that away from the general public.
Mhm.
I don't care how many stats, I don't know how much money you make. If the emotional component's not there, I'm that dude that's going to tell you, let's not roll with it.
Yep.
Even if I know everything's going to work out, I'm going to take that in consideration, and your emotions count. It just does. It's your hard work. It's your equity. It's your home. I'm only here to facilitate our conversation and take it to the closing table.
yeah, baby. Jameson?
Love it. Mine is humility. It's hard, okay? But to piggyback off Oscar, it's an emotional decision. And in order to have the best experience and the best outcome possible, be okay with being humble and letting us understand fully what your specific scenario is, because our job is now then to cater that experience to what your goals and outcomes are, regardless of if it's a foreclosure or, hey, I just lost my job, or, hey, I just had a kid, or, hey, I'm doing this, I'm going through a divorce, whatever it is. Bring some humility, and as a caveat, understand that you can choose your agent. So choose somebody you're comfortable with sharing that information. And if you do, and you find that person, it'll be
the more we know, the better we're able to help.
Oh, and if you run into somebody that you're not comfortable sharing that information with, maybe choose a different agent.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my one rock takeaway, I think, is going to be a beautiful culmination of both of yours. And it's, at the end of the day, it is your responsibility to not just take articles, news, TikToks, reels, whatever it is.
Fuck the media.
At face value.
Unless they're ours, they're funny.
Right? Don't take it at face value.
Yep.
Look into it. Numbers can be skewed in any kind of a way. Take the time to sit down, ask the right people the right questions, educate yourself on options and opportunities that you do have. Because as you see things like housing shortages, the real estate market's going to crash, what is wholesaling, whatever it is, it's going to scare you. So just take the time, do the research, ask people, ask the right questions. And with that being said, you can always reach out to us. Again,
as long as you're not under contract.
Yes, as long as you're not under contract with somebody else.
Because that's saying,
let us know.
That's another episode.
I'm all about free information, right?
Yes.
I had somebody reach out to me the other day just about the market update. Hey, if I sell my house, what do you think is going to happen? No, I'm not.
Oh, a good friend of mine.
Guess what? We'll give you that information for free, because that is what we love to do. Like, I love doing analysis on people's properties.
I'm doing one tonight for a friend of mine.
Yep.
She's going to use someone else. I don't care.
Do not hesitate to reach out to us, whether it's in the comments, whether it's via DM, whether it's how you reach us, which is 303-578-0263. Or if you guys want to email us, resotr@themilehighperspective.com. That'll get to all three of us. And our promise to you guys is, once we have that initial conversation, we'll tailor the experience to you, because we're all willing to help and we all have different expertise. But again, the Mile High Perspective on YouTube, come check us out, like, subscribe, comment. Some of these questions we got, again, from our audience, we'd love some more. Phone number, one more time, 303-578-0263. And then the email, resotr@themilehighperspective.com.
And now,
and before we go to the thing, I want to thank Lizzo for making DM a bad thing. Don't slip into my DM. It's like like when you're like DM, I'm like, no.
All right, listen, bro. Slip into the Oscars DMs.
Everybody.
Like,
do
please
it.
do.
Everybody. But now I am very, very happy to move on to this bourbon review. Yeah.
Johnny Drum, baby.
Johnny Drum.
He sounds like one of those like Civil War, just
I will say that this has been one of the most pleasant surprises,
right,
from a bourbon that we've had.
It's gotten better.
Yes.
As we're sitting here.
Yep.
Also, Oscar, I do have a question. Did you get this at Bubbles?
I did.
Okay. Was it on the shelf, or where was this at?
It was on the
shelf.
shelf.
Because I've literally never seen this bottle.
Dude, look at the label. It's very inconspicuous. It was there.
Like I said, that's what I was saying. If
right
I
there.
walked past this and saw it on the shelf, one, I wouldn't have known that it was made by Willett.
Right.
Two,
neither would I.
I would have just looked at it and been like, that's Johnny Blue out of some back end distillery, and I don't really want anything to do with it.
Right.
But excuse me, everybody. Holy shit.
Right?
I'm
glad you said that.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, seriously,
I agree.
like that. Wow.
Yeah.
Just overall. So I'm going to go ahead and move into my rock rating. And you know what? This has been the first one that I am not hesitant. I'm going to give this a 1.5.
Whoa.
I'm giving it a 1.5.
And you know what's crazy?
Hey, can we add some special effects?
Right?
In the YouTube video.
It was, if you want to go for it.
Go for it. You're excited.
It's like, I'm excited because
go for it.
As we sat here, the flavor profile was like enhancing and changing as we go. And it's a weird,
the definition of opening.
Yes.
Opening up, it is very complex, but it was like complex and like, oh, you're gonna get some sweet, you're gonna get some apple. It tastes good. It tastes better as we sat here.
Yes.
And it was crazy cool because I had zero expectation because I do not like Willet.
And not only that, but like I 100%. This is, and don't get me wrong, like we use our rock rating to rate the bourbons, right? If I was going off of pure how many rocks I want to put in this,
0.
I'd give it a 0.
Yes.
Yep. I could drink this neat all day, every day.
Yep.
And I almost think that putting a rock in it would lessen it.
Yeah.
And I love to add on all the other crap. Oh, like Breckenridge, like, oh, it's Colorado. I got to put that. If I was blind tested just the juice, you know what? It's good. I'm going to go ahead and say, I'll give it a solid 2.
Okay. Yeah.
Just because I had zero expectation, I thought it was going to be garbage. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm not going to bring the price in because if I bring the price in, this might be one of the best we've had. Or if
for
not
the price, this is damn good.
But here's how I view this. It's like a great book. You start out and you're like, all right, the hook caught me, and then the story develops. And you're like, it's gonna be. Then all of a sudden something changes. Now I'm more interested. Like I'm a big reader. If it's a good book, I'll finish a 300-page book in 3 hours. Right. That's what this is to me. Like it just got better.
Yes. Well,
and
it's
better.
Funny, I usually limit myself to like 1 glass, maybe 1.5 glasses while I'm drinking. This is the first time that
I was gonna say something too. I was like, and for the viewers, Charlie just went for a second pour.
Yeah.
So here's the problem I have. Okay. And you guys, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you can help me out. So far, the best whiskey we rated, I think, was the Elijah Craig Private Barrel.
Yes.
Okay. And I think we all did 1.5. Right. That bottle's $70.
Yes.
$70 or $80.
$80. You could probably find this for like $45.
You know what?
Yeah.
Can I do tenths?
I know, right? That's
Can
what
I
I'm
do
saying.
tenths?
I almost wanted to give it. I had to stay with the 1.5.
It's pretty
Here's
cool.
the deal.
Hold out.
Okay, I'm gonna put this up. I'm not gonna give a 1 until we do a blind tasting.
Yes.
I'm just not.
Yeah,
I
good.
won't.
I'm down with that.
Okay,
I'm down with that.
I will not.
It's that
I will
unicorn
not
one.
give
That's why I gave it a 2.
I'm not gonna give it a 1 rock until we sit there and say, okay, here's our top 5. We're gonna read mean tweets. We're gonna get really upset.
Exactly.
But we're gonna taste the best whiskey that we've ever had.
Exactly.
And then we'll do that. However, I'm gonna break the rules. I'm gonna do a 1.3.
1.3.
Yeah,
I like it.
I am
Because
only
it is
because
that damn close.
First off, it's very close, and I think
It's well rounded.
hopefully
Yes.
It's well rounded. Nose,
well. And
taste,
yes, you
everything.
have Toasted Barrel, which I'm a fan of Toasted Barrel.
Love
okay?
it.
Love it. But Toasted Barrel is $80, $90. Even if it's Basil Hayden's, it's expensive.
Yes.
Okay. This is how much?
I think 56,
Dude,
and you could probably
56.
find it for $45.
45. And I agree with Charlie. I could sip this neat all
day.
fucking day.
100%.
And enjoy it.
This is the bourbon that I would have on my bar cart.
And you know what? Here's the other thing.
There's no like hitting notes like, all right, that was kind of sour. That's kind of burny.
Yeah.
It was just,
Smooth.
it opened up and it was well rounded.
Listen, I'm going to give it a 1.3 because I think if you take the price into account, it's the best bourbon we've had.
Yes.
It exceeded my expectations. I did not expect me to say 1.3. Here's the other thing,
either.
and I'm just going to add because you guys haven't said this yet. I'm thinking of it. Yes, I could drink this neat all day long. Okay, but if I put this in a cocktail, I think this would work in any
anything.
whiskey cocktail,
Anything.
without issue.
Absolutely.
100%.
And you know what?
100%.
So bourbon will lend itself to whatever the hell you want to do with it. That's just why I love bourbon. But sometimes price
Johnny
point, all that
Drum.
stuff.
Well, I was going to
Johnny
say,
Drum,
the complexity of this.
Do whatever you
Dude.
want with it. It's gonna be great.
The complexity of this
Price
adds
point
to
too.
what Jameson said is just you get a sweet, you
Yep.
get the dry,
Yep.
you get a little bit
It's
more of that
clean,
flavor.
dude.
Yes.
It's fucking clean.
Wow.
I like
Hell
it.
It's
yeah.
clean.
I like
it's
it.
clean.
I like it.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful. Well,
it is less messy than our normal podcast.
yeah. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Real Estate
Listen,
Served on the
go
Rocks.
get Johnny Dram.
Yes.
It's
I'm
good
just saying,
stuff.
go get Johnny
Yes.
Dram. If you can find it,
Do it.
get it. If you're a bourbon drinker, fantastic.
Do it.
And if you don't like it, tell me what you don't like because
Dude,
I can't find it.
I
yeah,
can't find
this is
This is
wow.
really good. This is really
Oscar.
good. Good choice.
Good choice,
And on
bro.
that
Thank
note,
you.
cheers.
Hey,
Cheers,
boys.
guys.
Cheers.